going to tell you something that's going to sound kind of wrong, but your ads are probably fine. You're probably really good at what you do. Your offer works. You got the client testimonials to back it up, and your revenue is kind of consistent, more towards pretty consistent. But you can't simply just get people on the phone and show up to your calls. So I'm RJ. This is how I'm going to walk you through exactly how your short rates can be fixed and not bleed through, and you can actually make some more money and more revenue and scale past the current ceiling that you're currently doing. So let's get right into it. So your leads book the call, but then they don't show up, they cancel, they ghost you, and here's exactly why. It's almost never your ads or really your no you right doing something wrong, because in case you're taking the sales calls, right, and then you need some help on that, but you can't fix what you haven't diagnosed. We need to do a bottleneck analysis here. Most of you guys are optimizing the wrong stage, right? You're looking at your ads, the funnel, your closer sucks, your setter sucks, you suck. Which one is it, right? You need to actually optimize, right? You have 5 conversion points, only one is really killing your revenue right now, right? If this is your bottleneck, right? The others are fine, and here's how to exactly find it, right? So let's break it down real quick, okay? So here's some KPIs from a recent funnel that we looked at, okay? And we're going to round the numbers up. You have 2,000 views, VSL views, okay? And so we had 120 applications, 84 booked calls, 42 showed up, so that's 50%, and 8 closed, right? And so you might be like, oh, 19% close rate, that sucks. But like, if you double your show rate, okay, obviously 100%, you're going to double your close rate, which would then be like 38%, right? And so like, if you increase this by a little bit, to 60 or 70, you're going to increase your close rate by that much, okay? So you need to look like in your business, right, in your funnel right now, like there's in betweens, like, VSL views, right? And so how many people viewed the VSL then applied, right? Who applied and then booked, who booked and then showed, who showed up and then got closed, right? And so a lot to show. A low show rate makes everything else look broken, and it's kind of a struggle. I see a lot of coaches, consultants, agencies go through, right, and their revenue directly gets impacted by it, and they oftentimes look in front of the issue, right? And sometimes you have to look both ways. You have to determine what the bottleneck is, and if it's a show rate, you have to look at, okay, what is my setter doing? Okay, here's like 1 or 2 other things he can do to help show rates, but like I'm gonna look on the other side, right? And here's a lot more stuff you can do to increase your show rates, right? If your close rate is 19%, my closer's weak because he sucks. Let me fire him, get a new one. You're probably just gonna have the same, maybe increase it by 1%. Maybe not, right? CPL is too high. Ads aren't really working, right? Revenue is stuck. I need more leads. ROAS, return on ad spend, underwater, right? And paid ads don't work, so you stop. Not really, good mindset to have when you're trying to scale your business, or you really just find consistency, right? And to make more money. What's actually probably broken, 42 of 84 book calls didn't show up. 50% of people, that's not good, okay? 42 calls lost for a 5K offer, that's $210,000 a year for this business, right? And so closer, ads, and offer are all fine. You have the client results to back it up, right? You know how to close. You just need more people to close, okay? This doesn't mean you need more leads. You need more people to close, right? And so you need more people to show up to the call to be able to close, right? There's a difference there. You don't just need more leads, right? You can do the same amount of leads, right? And so let's go back here real quick, right? You have 1,000 VSL views. You have 120 applications. You have 84 book calls. Okay, out of those 84 people, you don't need 100 to get close more, which will help. But like right now, you don't need it, right? You need to increase your show up rate. That's what you need to do, right? And so, the show up rate is the bottleneck here, and everything else is, just noise, right? So if your show rate is below 60%, you have to fix it before touching anything else right now, unless your ads actually do suck, and then that determines, your ads suck is a bottleneck, right? Not so much the show up rate, okay? You have to fix one at a time. You don't really have the lead problem, like I just explained, okay? You have 84 people who booked a call, but 50% of them actually showed. It's a 7-step chain. You have to look at each part of the sequence, right? Each part of the funnel, right? And so we've looked at a lot of businesses, and the most broken later is almost never when you're, where you guys are looking, right? It's, everywhere else for some reason, right? Nick, he was struggling, and we came in and helped him. We audited him. We gave him the systems to increase his show rate, increase his close rate, right? And make him $56,000 in 32 days with only $1,200 in ad spend, right? And so it's been a different clients like Alaya, 20, 30K, struggling with, setters, closers, the bad leads, the whole everything, right? And she scaled to over $100,000, and Frank, right, $15,000 to $20,000, struggling too, right? We had to fix more on his end than just the show rate, but like restructured the offer and his pricing, everything like that. But he scaled up to over $80,000 in 4 to 6 months, right? And so, what why it matters, right? $80,000, the difference is between a 50% and a 70% show rate, and from the exact same ad spend, right? And that's what a lot of people don't understand. Like they think, oh, I need to increase ad spend to get more leads so I can close more people, right? But if you're gonna get more leads, 1 out of 2 people aren't ever gonna talk to you after they book a call. So why don't you increase to make it, 8 out of 10, or at least 6 to 7 to 8 out of 10 people actually go and get on the phone with you, so you can increase that many more people to make that much more money to put it back into the ads to then scale the business, right? So you can't just put the money first. You can't just do that, right? After you get proof of concept and you're ready to scale, then you find this bottleneck, then you have to fix the bottleneck and then put more money behind it, right? Then because you have the fix in the pipe of the funnel, right, you can let more people go through it to ultimately make more money. Okay. Right. So like I was just kind of reiterating: ads, landing page, confirmation, emails, setter. This is the nurturing sequence, right? Number 4, setter, best practices, very important. Call timing and your offer, right? Just don't ever skip either one. There's more in between here. Okay. But you just got to look at it from a bird's eye view, right? You can't be so honed in on the messaging, on the offer, on the pricing, on your setters, on your closers. You can't just look at one thing, right? And just so be tunnel vision. You got to look at all of them, right? And so here's number 1. The messaging congruency, right? You have no revenue qualifier, right? You're checking everyone. Now this can go a few different ways, right? You can do the revenue qualifier in the ad, the VSL, the application, your landing page, right? And your setters too, okay? It depends on how much friction at what part do you want to incorporate. Okay, ad says one thing, page says another. We have a lot of people that say one thing on the ad, and just landing page just says a whole bunch of other BS that doesn't correlate to two. And they have they batch record 20 ads, but all 20 ads don't relate to the landing page. So they have a good ad that's getting a lot of people through, but they're not converting on the landing page, right? Or if they are converting on the landing page, they're getting and not showing up and having that bottleneck down the road, right? And so it's a lot of different things, a lot of different puzzle pieces you have to connect to fix the bottleneck, and then another one usually comes upon and causes issues. But anyway, I digress. You're measuring the cost per lead, not cost per qualified lead, right? And so, creative is the targeting nowadays, especially on Facebook and on Meta, right? So the fix, $30K to $200K a month already in first 10 seconds. Read ad, page, application, back to back to back, right? Same exact language. Now it's going to be a little, I wouldn't say harder, but more difficult with cold traffic. Just make sure you're talking the same thing is being said in the ads is being said in your resale, your landing page, right? And roughly your confirmation page too. Okay, should be the same messaging that you're showing them consistent throughout the funnel and on your organic, right? Unless you're doing a different offer than your organic, which is completely different, right? So just make sure to hit this home. Ads, landing page, confirmation page, and the emails all have the same messaging inside of them. Okay, track your cost per qualified call. And application, right? Not just cost per click or click-through rate or CPMs, right? Well, those don't matter a lot, but how much are you paying for somebody to fill out an application? How many dollars are you spending to get somebody on the phone, right? And right now, if your bottleneck is show up rate, you're paying $100 per show, right? And if you increase that, you decrease the cost to get someone on the phone, right? Which lowers your costs, increase your profit, right? Because you're closing more people. If you're closing more people, then you get more revenue, right? You know how that works, right? So let's go and continue. So landing page, right? Friction and intent, right? More friction, more intent. Less friction, less intent. Okay, and you just get more, bad leads right through the door. Which, depending on how you want to set up your funnel, right? A lot of people just like proof of concept, just flood the funnel with people, and have the setter just do all the work. Or, a lot of people like, some friction in the ad, some friction in the VSL, and then just hard stop them in the application, right? So, too few questions, low friction, low commitment. That's why instant forms don't work. You get a lot of leads and a lot of BS on the back end, right, to say the least. But opt in before the application. Why are you doing that? Why do you need them to give them your contact information to watch a VSL page? That doesn't make sense, right? Oh, you're gonna nurture them on the back end. Sure, okay. Don't do that, right? Generic copy that reads like every other page, right? You need to be different, use a unique mechanism. What makes you so different, right? And so more questions, higher intent, depending on what questions you have, determines, how the lead is going to portray you, how the lead is going to go through your funnel, in the qualifiers that you're going to be having. So you can have a workflow. If you don't want somebody that's making less than $20,000 a month, then they put that they make $20,000 a month or less, like 15K, send them somewhere else. Don't have them talk to your setter or book a call, right? And that's for a numerous amount of different reasons. I'm not going to go into that on this video, but it's very important you do that, right? So every question signals what they're exactly doing and why they actually have the intent to working with you, right, or getting your services. Okay, so the ICP needs to invest in the process, right? So they have to watch the video, they have to fill out the application, right? You don't want to have like an hour long video, because I mean sometimes that does work, but like it's rare, right? And you might as well be running a webinar at that point, right, instead of a call funnel. So don't have too many questions, don't have too hard of questions, but it's really up to you, right? And just make it make sense, right? And so the confirmation page. So most people leave 17% show rate on this table right here. Really on the page, like if you just have a thank you page, just literally just says thank you and a few different things, like that's probably not going to work. Like thanks for booking, check your email, no resell, no trust building. Lead is alone, and they're like, oh, what do I do now? You have to give them direction, right? And they have to go do their research on their own. Now you need a hero video, like a confirmation page video, giving them, introducing yourself with cold traffic, action steps, confirmation email that their call is not confirmed yet. If they're going to get a call from you or the setter or the closer, right? Just give them directions and stuff to do because they need to be in your head between now and the 48 hours when their call is, or less, right? You need like 4 to 12 breakout videos answering objections, questions, any sort of information you want to present to them in order to get them on the phone, on the call, right? So high volume testimonials plus the number you'll receive text from, right? So some of the funnels on the confirmation page, like they just tell you what number, or they have the number below the video or in another video, or they don't do it because the setters are so quick to contact the leads, right? And they just tell the prospects that they're going to be calling them soon. So 30% show rate from breakout videos alone, 17% average from fully optimized page. Free to build, most people just don't care about it, right? And so if you look past this, like it's probably hurting you, right? And so email sequences, right? This is all for the nurturing value, testimonials, and value, right? Don't forget about your call tomorrow. That's BS content hidden behind the link. Try and get a preview of a video. How Wistia, has those video thumbnails. Try and do that, right? Or like a picture of it, and then they click the picture, and then they go to the actual link, right? Like a YouTube video, or Wistia or Vimeo, or wherever you host your videos nowadays, right? Generic copy that could come from any niche, or like from an LLM. Don't copy and paste your emails from any sort of AI, right? Unless you train it and you look it over and then you be like, okay, this sounds right. But anyway, the fix, this should be 8 to 12 for cold, 3 to 6 for warm, right? You play around with it, see what works best for you. In 48 hours, right, is usually when I do cold traffic. They can't book out more than 48 hours. If you can't do that, and you have too much volume, hire more closers. Whatever you need to do, just don't. I mean, if you want to do 3 days, we've seen better data and statistics on 48 hours only. A hard cap there. Full value inside each email, no click required. 1 insight plus 1 proof point plus 1 reason to show up per email, right? It's very simple. You can do more than that. Like 1 insight, 2, 3, 4 proof points with multiple different reasons. More the better, right? So just get as many pieces of content in front of them as physically possible, right? You can do this with ads, you can do this with emails, you can do this with SMS, you can do this with setters, closers, a VA, really anything, right? And so like halfway through, like it doesn't cost anything, right? It just costs you your time, right? No extra ad spend, no new offer, no closer. You don't have to have that difficult conversation with the closer and the team. Be like, oh, I have to let you go. You only have like 90% close rates, or we're not getting the show rates that we need, and it's your fault. This and the third, right? So Nick collected $56,000 in revenue on $1,200 in ad spend, and most of the work actually happened, in these next 3 layers, right? And so we had the setter actually, send a voice note if they didn't answer the call. That when the setter called the prospect, right? And so like, if you don't have a setter, it's just automations and hope, right? You could have your closer do the job, to be fair, and to be clear, but reaches out, 24 hours after, after any sort of time after 10 or 15 minutes after they book a call is really, the intent is just terrible. Unless, you just need to contact them within like 5 minutes, right? Text only, generic opener, no personality. You have to build that relationship, build trust, human and human, just, act like it's another person and just, be friends with him. This is more for the closers, but setter, still does this, right? Voice note, contact this lead as soon as possible. Warm, personal, short, no scripts, just be genuine. I give all of the setters frameworks instead of giving them scripts because they're good at what they do. If I change what they say on the phone, they're not going to be good, as good as they otherwise would be with no scripts, right? Setter, voice note, closer, selfie video. I wouldn't swap these, right? it really doesn't matter at the end of the day, but closer always has to send that selfie video because the setter is just gonna voice note or call or both, right? Like I said, setter is going to call every single lead. If they don't answer, voicemail and voice note and a text, right? Voice note within 1 hour, the single highest show rate lever, and the close rate. The closer selfie video. Okay, just a little bit of time, right? Like a minute video for the closers. If your closer is like bitching about that, he's not the right person in your organization, right? I'm telling you, it's going to help a lot. And call timing, okay? When you should let people schedule calls. I kind of briefly went over it, like business hours. Don't like if you're doing B2B services, like, and somebody schedules on the lunch break, odds are more times than not they're not going to care about it. Odds are they're just going to come off going on to their lunch, so they're eating this, that, and the third. Or if they're scheduling during the day, like 2-3 p.m. and they're in the business, like, what do you think they're going to be doing? Right? They're at work in a just got out of a meeting, have a meeting in 10 minutes, right? Distracted, like, same day bookings, as it goes either way, right? It really just depends. We typically see a lot of just prospects book next day anyway, right? Because they're like, oh, I don't really want to, have a call in 3-4 hours, right? I have other plans, this, that, and the other, right? So off hour slots, especially for B2B, evenings, early mornings, weekends. Don't just book people during the week. That's not smart. 2 to 3 booking window, urgent enough to keep, far enough to prepare, right? Have them do more research on you and give them research to do. Okay. Specific time picks, equals more committed than, next available, right? So off hours, substantially higher show rates. Their business hours are, like I said, they're going to be busy, especially when you're doing B2B. B2C is like even care less, right? With scheduling meetings and stuff like that, right? So just give them a call, build that relationship, build that trust in under 48 hours, present a lot of content in front of them, nurture them, retarget them with the specific best practices that I've shown and are on my channel. Go check them out, right? They're going to help you a lot when implemented correctly. Okay. And number 7, offer. This is typically a lot of the time you already have a good offer, right? But it does not mean your warm or organic offer is going to work well in cold traffic, right? That doesn't mean anything. Like, they're two different things, right? And so it might come down to it, right? You can, do 1 through 6 and you're still going to have a problem. And when you do the bottleneck analysis, it comes down to your offer. Okay, cool. Make it sexy. This actually determines a lot, right? And you should know that, right? If your offer sucks, your business isn't going to do anything, right? Especially in cold traffic, right? So, like I said, 1 steps through 1 and 6, fix everything else. Right? And then you're like, oh, nothing's working, right? If you have a better show rate and you're still not making the revenue that you want, fix your offer, right? Ads can't fix a broken delivery. They just expose it faster, right? Fix the back end before actually scaling to the front end, right? And so Nick did this exact thing. We implemented the systems. He came on. He needed all this help. He's been doing this for a while. He had the offer. He was good at what he does. He had the client results to all back it up, right? And so he was making like terrible months for $7K, decent months for $14,000, and we fixed the layers 1, 2, 3, and 5, right? And so we were like, all right, start off with something on a small budget just to get proof of concept, right? And we were in the first month, and it ripped. He made over $56,000 in 32 days, right? And show rates 57% to 79%, close rates 18% to 27%, right? It was crazy, right? And I'm not telling you this is exactly what we're going to be doing for you, and you're going to get results like this and get a 46.7 return on your ad spend. No, this is not at all what I'm telling you to do. But when you put yourself in a more probable situation with the most probable information to succeed, you have a pretty good high chance to develop what you want. It's to grow and scale past the ceiling where you're at right now, right? And so if you want to actually work one-on-one with us at Arivian, go down below. I got a link in the description. Hop on a call and give you a full audit, break down the processes of what your bottlenecks are, what you're doing wrong, what you're doing right, and how we can fix the wrongs to do more right and actually scale your business to that next level. I will see you in the next one.